There's a moment, often in the quiet hours of the night or in the middle of a crowded room, when you suddenly realize you feel lost. It's not the kind of loss that comes from taking a wrong turn on a road trip or misplacing your keys. It's deeper, quieter, and far more unsettling. It's the sense that you're drifting through your own life, going through the motions, but not really sure where you're headed, or even why you're headed there at all. Maybe you've felt it after achieving something you thought would make you happy, only to find the satisfaction fading faster than you expected. Or maybe it's a constant background hum, a low-level confusion that colors everything you do. You look around and wonder, how did I get here? And where am I supposed to go next? We're told that life is a journey, that if we just follow the right path, everything will fall into place. But what nobody tells you is that sometimes, the path disappears. The map you were given doesn't match the territory. The things you thought would bring you meaning, success, relationships, recognition, don't quite fill the emptiness you feel inside. You try to ignore it, to distract yourself with work, with entertainment, with the endless scroll of other people's lives. But the feeling lingers. It's as if you're standing in the middle of a vast, foggy field, unable to see more than a few steps ahead, unsure which direction to take. This is the real reason you feel lost. You've been living according to someone else's map. From the moment we're born, we're handed a set of instructions by our families, our cultures, our schools, even our friends. We're told what matters, what's worth striving for, what a good life looks like. We internalize these messages, often without realizing it, and set out to achieve the goals we've been given. But somewhere along the way, we lose touch with our own inner compass. We forget to ask ourselves what we truly want, what actually brings us alive, what feels meaningful to us, not just to everyone else. Take the story of Arjun, a man who did everything right. He studied hard, got a stable job, married a wonderful partner, bought a house, and checked every box on the list of what a successful life should look like. But at 35, he found himself waking up every morning with a sense of dread. He couldn't explain it to anyone, not even to himself. On paper, his life was perfect. But inside, he felt like a stranger in his own story. He realized he'd spent years climbing a ladder, only to discover it was leaning against the wrong wall. Contrast that with someone like Sarah, who never quite fit the mold. She bounced from job to job, city to city, relationship to relationship, always searching for something she couldn't name. People called her restless, indecisive, even irresponsible. But deep down, Sarah was listening for a voice she could barely hear, the voice of her own longing, her own curiosity, her own sense of purpose. She didn't have a clear plan, but she was willing to wander, to explore, to risk getting lost in order to find something real. Here's the paradox: feeling lost is not a sign that you've failed. It's a sign that you're alive. It means you're paying attention, that you're not willing to settle for a life that doesn't fit. It means you're asking the right questions, even if you don't have the answers yet. The people who never feel lost are often the ones who have stopped growing, who have traded curiosity for certainty, who are living on autopilot. But you, if you're feeling lost, it means you're still searching, still open, still willing to be surprised by your own life. But why is it so hard to find your way? Part of the reason is that we're surrounded by noise, voices telling us what we should want, what we should do, who we should be. Social media amplifies this, bombarding us with images of other people's highlight reels, making us feel like we're falling behind. We compare our messy, uncertain reality to their carefully curated stories, and we come up short. We start to believe that everyone else has it figured out, that we're the only ones wandering in the fog. But the truth is, almost everyone feels lost at some point. They just don't talk about it. Another reason is that we're afraid of making the wrong choice, of disappointing others, of wasting time. We want guarantees, certainty, a clear path forward. But life doesn't work that way. The most important journeys are the ones with no map, no guide, no promise of success. They require us to trust ourselves, to listen to our own intuition, to take one step at a time even when we can't see the whole road. So, what do you do when you feel lost? The first step is to stop running from the feeling. Instead of numbing it or distracting yourself, try to sit with it. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What am I longing for? What have I been ignoring? Sometimes, the answers come quickly. Other times, they take months or even years to emerge. But the act of asking is powerful. It signals to yourself that you're willing to listen, that you're ready to find your own way. There's a quiet courage in admitting you feel lost. Most people spend their lives pretending they know exactly where they're going, even when they don't. They cling to certainty, to routine, to the comfort of familiar roles and expectations. But deep down, there's a part of them that wonders if there's more, if the life they're living is really theirs, or just a story they've been told. When you allow yourself to feel lost, you open the door to something new. You give yourself permission to question, to explore, to grow. But the journey from lost to found isn't a straight line. It's more like a spiral, looping back on itself, full of detours and dead ends. You might think you found your way, only to wake up one morning and realize you're lost all over again. This is normal. In fact, it's necessary. Growth is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong process. Every time you outgrow an old version of yourself, you enter a new phase of uncertainty. Every time you let go of a story that no longer fits, you step into the unknown. Let's talk about the stories we tell ourselves. We all have them, narratives about who we are, what we're capable of, what's possible for us. Some of these stories are empowering, but many are limiting. Maybe you believe you're not creative, or that you're too old to start over, or that you have to make everyone happy. Maybe you've internalized the idea that your worth depends on your productivity, your appearance, your ability to meet other people's expectations. These stories shape your choices, often without you even realizing it. They become invisible walls, keeping you stuck in a life that doesn't feel like your own. The first step to finding your way is to become aware of these stories. Notice when you're telling yourself, I can't, or I shouldn't, or it's too late. Ask yourself, whose voice is this? Where did I learn this story? Is it actually true? Sometimes, just shining a light on these beliefs is enough to loosen their grip. Other times, it takes more work, therapy, journaling, honest conversations with people you trust. But every time you challenge a limiting story, you create space for something new. Another key to finding your way is to reconnect with your own desires. This can be surprisingly difficult, especially if you've spent years prioritizing other people's needs or following someone else's path. You might not even know what you want anymore. That's okay. Start small. Pay attention to what excites you, what energizes you, what makes you lose track of time. Notice the moments when you feel most alive, most yourself. These are clues, breadcrumbs leading you back to your own path. Sometimes, the things that call to you won't make sense to anyone else. Maybe you feel drawn to a new hobby, a different career, a place you've never been. Maybe you want to spend more time alone, or with a different group of people, or doing something that seems unproductive by society's standards. Trust these impulses. They're not random, they're signals from your deeper self, guiding you toward what you need. Of course, following your own path can be scary. It often means disappointing people, breaking with tradition, risking failure or rejection. You might worry about what others will think, or whether you're making a mistake. But here's the truth, the only real mistake is betraying yourself. The people who matter will understand, or they'll learn to. And the people who don't, they were never really on your side to begin with. It's also important to remember that you don't have to figure everything out at once. You don't need a 5-year plan or a perfect vision of the future. All you need is the next step, the smallest action you can take in the direction of what feels true. Maybe it's signing up for a class, reaching out to someone you admire, spending an afternoon doing something just for you. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you, or yes to something that scares you. Over time, these small steps add up. They create momentum, clarity, and confidence. Let's not forget the role of community. Feeling lost can be incredibly isolating, especially if everyone around you seems to have it all together. But the truth is, you're not alone. There are countless others who feel the same way, even if they don't talk about it. Seek out people who are willing to be honest, who are also asking big questions, who support your growth rather than your conformity. These are your fellow travelers, your allies on the journey. Together, you can share your struggles, celebrate your wins, and remind each other that it's okay to be a work in progress. And then there's the matter of patience. We live in a world that values speed, efficiency, instant results. But finding your way is not a race. It's a slow, unfolding process, full of trial and error, false starts, and new beginnings. There will be days when you feel like you're making progress, and days when you feel like you're going in circles. That's part of the journey. Trust that clarity will come, even if it takes longer than you'd like. Finally, remember that feeling lost is not a problem to be solved, but an invitation to be accepted. It's a sign that you're alive, that you're growing, that you're willing to question and explore. It's a doorway to a deeper, more authentic life, one that's uniquely yours. There's a quiet beauty in the space between where you are and where you want to be. It's the space of possibility, of becoming, of discovering parts of yourself you never knew existed. When you stop fighting the feeling of being lost and start listening to it, you realize it's not an enemy, it's a guide. It's pointing you toward the places in your life that need attention, the dreams you've buried, the truths you've ignored. It's asking you to slow down, to pay attention, to get curious about your own life. Sometimes, the way forward isn't about finding a new path, but about coming home to yourself. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who you should be. Think back to when you were a child. What did you love? What made you lose track of time? What did you dream about before you learned to be practical, to be realistic, to fit in? Those early passions and curiosities are not accidents, they're clues to your true self. Reconnecting with them can help you find your way when you feel lost. But don't be surprised if the journey is messy. Growth is rarely linear. You might try something new and realize it's not for you. You might take a risk and fall flat. You might change your mind, again and again. That's not failure, that's learning. Every detour, every wrong turn, every moment of doubt is part of the process. The key is to keep moving, to keep experimenting, to keep asking yourself what feels true now, in this moment. And as you do, you'll start to notice something remarkable. The more you honor your own path, the more the fog begins to lift. You'll have moments of clarity, flashes of insight, glimpses of a life that feels like your own. You'll start to trust yourself, to rely less on external validation and more on your own inner wisdom. You'll realize that you don't need all the answers to take the next step. You just need enough courage to keep going. It's also important to practice self-compassion along the way. Feeling lost can bring up shame, self-doubt, even despair. You might judge yourself for not having it all figured out, for not living up to your own or others' expectations. But what if you treated yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend? What if you saw your confusion not as a flaw, but as a sign of your willingness to grow? The truth is, nobody has it all together. We're all making it up as we go, learning as we stumble, finding our way one step at a time. As you move forward, you'll also discover that your sense of direction becomes clearer the more you act. Clarity doesn't come from thinking alone, it comes from doing. Each choice, each experiment, each new experience gives you feedback about what works and what doesn't. Over time, you'll develop a sense of what feels right for you, what aligns with your values, what brings you joy. You'll learn to trust your own instincts, to listen to your own voice, to follow your own curiosity. And perhaps most importantly, you'll realize that being lost is not a permanent state. It's a phase, a season, a necessary part of the journey. There will be times when you feel certain, when the path is clear, when you know exactly where you're headed. And there will be times when the fog returns, when you have to find your way all over again. This is the rhythm of a life well lived, a life that's honest, dynamic, and true. So if you're feeling lost right now, know that you're not alone. Know that this feeling is not a sign of failure, but of possibility. Know that you have everything you need to find your way, not all at once, but step by step, choice by choice, day by day. Trust the process. Trust yourself. And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. One day, you'll look back on this time and realize it was the beginning of something new. You'll see how every moment of confusion, every question, every risk you took led you closer to yourself. You'll understand that feeling lost was never the problem, it was the invitation. The real reason you feel lost is because you're ready for something more. And the way to find your way is to listen, to trust, and to keep moving forward, even when the path isn't clear. This is your life. This is your journey. And you are exactly where you need to be to begin.